What are your thoughts on vaccines? A. Do they cause autism? B. Will they cause dysgenics? Well, this idea that vaccines create autism, I'm thinking that these symptoms manifest about the age of 3. People don't seem to notice things like autism before the age of 3, so it could be a coincidence that they've been vaccinated. The medical science is not happy about the assertion. And yes, undoubtedly, they are going to lead to dysgenics in the immune system. And indeed more than that, especially in the mind, because you'd expect mutations affecting the immune system to correlate with mutations affecting the mind, since 84% of the human genome is related to functions in the brain. Do you have anything to add on vaccines and dysgenics?
Well, I think that the data purporting a link between vaccines and autism is wrong. It does not seem to have withstood empirical scrutiny. There's no real mechanism through which vaccines could cause autism either. It just doesn't seem to me to be plausible. I think they claim it's the mercuric preservatives that are used in some of the older vaccines that might have done it, but that doesn't seem reasonable. No, the real reason autism rates are increasing is because of rising mutational load within the population. There are very strong paternal age effects on autistic-like personality. And the age of the father, the odds of producing an autistic child increases as you age as a father. So, if mutations are increasing over time due to relaxed negative selection, then we'd expect not just autism rates to increase, but a whole bunch of other associated psychobehavioral abnormalities to increase as well, like ADHD and schizophrenia. There's a thing called the recency hypothesis, which is based on the idea that there are no descriptions of any mental diseases that correspond to schizophrenia before the 1700s. The first case of schizophrenia appears to have been around 1750. So, these are diseases of modernity. These are diseases associated with an increase in mutation load. And this whole idea that vaccines are causing it is the environmental determinist cope. It's an attempt to cope with the reality of accumulating mutations. That's what's really causing it. And it's funny because I think if the establishment was presented with that as the alternative explanation, they would strongly prefer that people went around thinking it was vaccines to preserve environmental determinism orthodoxy.
There's a very interesting book, Defenders of the Truth, by Finnish researcher Ulrika Segerstrale. It looks at the whole sociobiology controversy. And she puts it down almost to a religious distinction, really, between the Augustinians, who don't believe in free will and think everything's preordained, and that then feeds into genetic determinism. And then the opposite, those who think that religiously that everything's in our own hands and that feeds into environmental determinism. The earlier view, the Augustinian view, the predetermined view, leads to Calvinism, and it leads to a very dour way of looking at the world. A very dark way of looking at the world, whereby we can't control anything. And there's something more satisfying about Pelagius, who emphasized the importance of free will and individual responsibility. You know, it's all in our own hands, and even with the intelligence research. Now, there have been a few mainstream documentaries on mainstream TV channels on intelligence going down, one of which was the Italian, the RAI one. And then in the French and German documentaries, they slanted to try and explain it in environmental terms, you know, the Barbie model, that there's something we can do about it.
It's interesting Barbie, as we call Professor Barbara Demonex, has actually gotten a lot of flack because it turns out that people are using her work to try and make claims about vaccines. Because as you know, she thinks neurotoxins cause everything, cause autism, cause low IQ. And it's always ever-present neurotoxins like mercury and lead and alcohol and all this sort of thing. And I've seen her get defensive. It's the one thing she doesn't think is caused by neurotoxins.
That's because it's not helpful to her career.